Welcome back to Down the Road. Let me explain professional to you. Garrett Bradbury is going to join us in a little bit. He's the center for the Minnesota Vikings. Now, let me give you some facts that should matter. We could talk about this number or that number, but what I want to mention is you've got a young man that grew up in Charlotte that went to play for North Carolina State and then got drafted in the first round by the Minnesota Vikings every game he's played in. And there's no doubt playing in the NFL, he's been dinged up for some of those games, but he still played them. And so I want to get a chance to visit with him. As a former Division I college official that was an umpire, which means I was back with the linebackers, I love watching the offensive line, and I watch Garrett a lot. So here's my plus of the week. I get a chance to visit with him. Garrett, good to have you coming down the road with us.
Appreciate you having me, Joel.
So what was it like to play at NC State growing up in Charlotte? I mean, that had to be, as a little kid, that had to be a long-time goal.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was, you were about 3 hours from my hometown in Charlotte, so my parents could come up and watch me play. They made it to every home game and a lot of the away games, and I loved it at NC State. They'd pack out the probably 60,000, 50,000 for every home game, and a lot of my good friends that I went to high school and grew up with went to either NC State or Chapel Hill, and so it was cool to see them throughout college. But nothing but good things to say. I absolutely loved it there.
Yeah, I don't doubt it. It was easy to follow. Now, the Vikings took you in the first round. You're sitting there, and of course, I don't think it was any big surprise to a lot of us that watched the draft. But you're still the young man, coming out of college, wondering who you're going to go to and what round you're going to go in. What was that like?
It was a lot of emotions. You're excited, you're anxious, you're unsure of where you're going to spend the next few years of your life. You find out where you're going to be shipped off to, and you have no clue anything about the cities. I mean, I hadn't thought anything about it. I tried to keep an open mind and just kind of trust that there was a plan and let it happen. But that was just kind of the open-minded approach I wanted to take.
Well, the fit in Minnesota seems to have worked out perfect. I know that this offensive line is gotten nothing but better. The signing of Mr. O'Neill, the fact that the Vikings have used their upper rounds to shore it up. I shouldn't say shore it up, but make it nothing but stronger. If I'm sitting there, the center for the Minnesota Vikings, and I see where some of these picks have gone, it has to show the dedication they have and the understanding of the importance of the offensive line.
Yeah, I mean, it starts in the trenches with offense and defensive line, and I think our defensive line doesn't get they get a lot of credit, but they probably don't get enough. They do such a good job. They make us better. We make them better. And that's how the good teams that I've been on, that's how it works. And so practice is always a great opportunity for us, because when practice is more challenging and a tougher task than the game, I mean, that just makes the games a lot easier.
I've always wondered, how often do the ones get to practice against the ones in terms of the offensive and defensive line?
Every week. I mean, it's not necessarily every day, but Coach Zimmer does a good job of throwing in some periods here or there, different drill work here or there. But we definitely do it every week just to get a little bit of speed, the speed and the strength and all that, just to get that down.
So you're coming off a bye week. That's never a bad thing. People getting healthy, people needing to get healthy. What's it feel coming off a bye week?
Feels great. The bye week in the NFL is unique because in college you don't really have a bye week. You basically just have that Saturday off. You still kind of spend the whole week practicing and doing a bunch of stuff, normal schedule. But then in the NFL you actually have some time off. So it's good to just kind of distance yourself a little bit, but not too much. Kind of unplug and get your mind right, get your body, because it's NFL seasons. It's a long season, and you got to get mentally and physically prepared to finish this thing out.
I get a chance to follow Dalvin Cook like many of us do on social media, and obviously the bye week was good for him. Or at least he's telling me on social media it was good for him, and I don't doubt him 1 second. That's the guy you're blowing holes open for. The Vikings have actually proved that they're deep. in the running back position. I get that, and I'm not going to put you in a position of picking one over the other, but it can't hurt one bit to have Delvin Cook back healthy.
No, not at all. I mean, he's
when you key in on the Cowboys, what do you see? What's the keys for you?
Yeah, I mean, they're a fast defense. They're a great team. They've been putting up a lot of points, and their defense has been getting really good stops when they needed to. And, you know, I've played them both the past 2 years, and some of it's similar personnel, similar players, kind of different defensive structure, but they play hard. You know, there's every single week, these teams have great players. They play hard. They're well coached. And so, you know, a lot of times this might sound like coaches talk, but it's more about us and what we're doing. So we're trying to get the game plan down and just execute at a high level.
Actually, you know, you say coaches talk, but I think it's true. You can't do anything other than what you can do. So I get it. I understand it. When you talk about playing a high-profile game on a Sunday night, when the nation's going to be watching, every football fan, NFL football fan's going to be glued to that set. What difference does that make in terms of just the mindset, Garrett?
You know, it really doesn't make a whole lot of difference because you have some games at noon, you have some games at 7:30, Sunday, Monday. But I will say that the day on Sunday feels like a really long day. So you're wanting to get to game time the whole day. I mean, you kind of have a normal morning, but then you have a random 5-hour break on your Sunday until you start to get ready. So the biggest thing is just staying hydrated, eating what you need to eat, and just try to mentally get ready for it.
You know, last game 2 weeks ago, not a sack. Is this a sign? And of course, everybody's looking at the depth of the line now with Christian coming on at left tackle. I think he went in the first round too, didn't he?
Yeah. He did.
I mean, kind of shows again what the Vikings have really focused their energy on. Does that just make you deeper, or does it change because you're the captain on that offensive line? You're the one that's able to look at everybody, get them doing what they need to be doing. I mean, he's a rookie. I mean, what difference does that make to a center like you?
I mean, Christian's done a phenomenal.
Well, I mean, you could easily make the argument this team could have 2 more wins on the board, but that's not going to change. The upside for the Vikings, as I look at it, is you really haven't delved into that NFC North schedule. You know, what difference does that make to the average fan out there who can look at things just in terms of numbers, a 3-3 record? What difference does it make once you start playing the NFC North? I just want people to hear you explain that to them.
Yeah, it means a little bit more. You know, I mean, you're constantly looking at the division standings, and because everyone's goal is to make it to the playoffs. You know, that's whatever happens in the regular season. You want to be playing late into January and hopefully into February. So you're keeping an eye on it, and then when you get a chance to not only take a win from them, but also give them a loss. I mean, it's awesome. I mean, with the rivalry with Green Bay and Chicago and Detroit, all of those games are always physical, hard-fought games. And you know that going into the week. So it excites you. It's always great atmospheres and opportunities. And it's a little bit more.
I can tell you this, as somebody that follows it as close as what I do, some of these games have just been rock fights. I mean, it's just been so physical. You guys haven't left anything on the field, which means you're bound to get dinged up, but you're bound to ding up as well. I get it. I understand it. I want to talk to you a little bit about US Bank Field. The Viking fans aren't always good at getting quiet once you're snapping the ball. They're supposed to be, but that stadium is so loud. I know that when the defense is on the field, you can't hardly hear yourself think. And so what's it like playing in that stadium?
I love it when we're on the sidelines, and I know how miserable it is for opposing offenses. When you get into a lot of stadiums like that, you can't hear anything. When I'm trying to communicate calls to the other linemen, you can't hear the guy next to you. And that's such an advantage. And so Vikings fans, our stadium, it's a huge advantage for us on Sundays. We get so excited when we get to play home games in front of our crowd because it's a nightmare for offenses sometimes. You know, you try to not let it affect you, but when you can't hear the guy next to you, there's communication problems, when offensive lines false start because our crowds are just that loud. It's a huge advantage.
And I do want to talk about the count because it doesn't start until you snap the ball. And, you play in stadiums like the one we just described. I want to put your head, your brain inside that opposing center's head. And you've got to snap that ball. You've got to get the quicker jump off the line. What is that like when it's so loud? I mean, what goes through your mind when it's that loud?
There's a handful of games where it's just deafening loud that I can recall playing, and you try and take the momentum away from them. Kind of gets you excited when you're playing an away game. You love to quiet the crowd, and you love to just make splash plays, and you just got to get in a rhythm, and you listen to your coaches and trust them and try and block out the noise per se. But sometimes you got to make sure all five guys are on the same page. That's the biggest thing, because like I said, when you can't communicate, just things get a little different.
Kirk Cousins is not just having an all-pro year. He's having an MVP year, in my personal opinion. You can't do that without a good offensive line. Like I said last week, not one sack. But, in terms of leadership, as somebody who follows the Vikings, it appears like he's even taken that up another notch. I don't know if that makes sense to you or if it's justified saying that, but it appears that he's playing with more emotion and more get in your face. Is that fair, or is that just something that I'm assuming?
Yeah, maybe a little bit. Honestly, people outside looking in might see that a little bit more than I will. But, I think Kirk is such an awesome teammate to have, awesome guy to have in the locker room. He has a relationship with everyone in the locker room. He really takes the time to get to know you, and he's a great leader for this team. Whether fans see that or see that more this year, it's been awesome to play for him and have him as my quarterback the past 3 years.
There's something else, because I think it's what TV does to certain fans. They get it based upon whatever TV says. They focus on Coach Zimmer. They focus on wherever the ball went, those type of things. But, in terms of contact, in terms of, the importance of the offensive line coach versus the head coach game time, describe that to people so they understand when you get off the field after a series, what goes through the aspect of the interaction. Everybody thinks that Coach Zimmer is over there talking to you every play, and I just want people to hear from you what a typical game is like.
Yeah, we'll come off the sideline and we all get our Microsoft iPad things with the screenshots of every play. And so we're talking through adjustments we need to make, what looks the defense has given us, what worked, why plays didn't work. I'm communicating with Kirk if he saw anything. A lot of times, there's some over communication. Sometimes there's some under communication, but a lot of times the NFL is just things are coached on results. So if it worked, it worked. There's nothing to talk about. If it didn't work, obviously there's a reason. So, I think you start to learn the guys that you play next to and you play with, and like what they want to hear, what they need to hear. But all of us 5 offensive linemen, we all sit together and talk through things and clear whatever needs to be cleared up.
Garrett, I also wonder this because I watch you. I don't do what television tells me to do. Because of what I did for a living for a little bit. As a part-time job, I watch the offensive line. You're quick. You're really quick, and you're built for the speed that a center can bring. What's it like in that huddle when you get to roll out, when that's called? When you get a chance to get out on that screen, what goes through your mind and how much fun is that?
Yeah, it's a blast. It's
in terms of defensive linemen. When you think of the first 3 guys that are the best defensive linemen you've played against, who are they? I know they're all good. It's the NFL level, but who sticks out in your mind that you're going to nose up against that week?
There's a lot of there's a few probably that are head above everyone else, but for the most part, everyone's in the NFL for a reason. They're all they're all great players. I think our nose tackle, Michael Pierce, he's definitely one of the best guys I've ever played against. He's a great player, and I love the opportunity that I can go up against him and practice every day.
Yeah, that's the ones against ones as well. Garrett, I know you're busy. I know you got somewhere to go, but I do appreciate it. I'll be there. And all I ask for is to be able to look at my fellow broadcaster over on the radio side and have him give me the money and wear the Viking hat all day. So appreciate it. Thanks for coming on with us.